Hi, my name is Emily and I'm here with Sydney and Glenn from Off-Campus Housing, and we're going to ask them a few questions today on what first-year students should look for when looking for a house for second year. We were just wondering, what is the first step when looking for a house?
Well, we actually recommend students take 2 steps back before going out and looking for a place, because we think they should do a budget and recognize how much they can actually afford to pay for rent off campus and calculate a year's worth of money for rent in a budget. And then we recommend a roommate agreement, because many landlords ask for a joint lease, and that makes roommates liable for each other. So we really want them to know that they can get along with people, not end up in a fight, somebody skipping out on somebody with regards to rent.
Is there a general area you recommend it for students?
We don't necessarily recommend areas. There are some websites you can go and check out crime stats and stuff like that in London. But most people, they're fairly close to the school or down the Richmond corridor, things like that. And Western's probably got 23,000 students living off campus, and they're all over the city. I work at both Western and Fanshawe. I've seen students, because they're in the joint program at Western and Fanshawe, out at Fanshawe as well. So they're spread out all over the city. Certainly there are concentrations along Western Road, along Richmond Street, etc., and downtown. But they're all over the city.
What's the #1 problem students have when looking for a house?
I think they're trying to look for the perfect place, and it's probably the first time they've ever gone out to rent, and they don't realize there might be some minor things that they don't like, that it may be the best of world as far as taking a place. So there might be some minor imperfections, but if they're looking for a perfect place, they're not going to find it probably. Either if it's a great place, it's probably going to be on the high end of pricing, or if they want to be close to campus. A lot of people like to be walking distance. You're going to pay a premium. If you take a 10-minute bus ride, you'll save $100 a month per tenant, versus a 10-minute walk to the UCC from the edge of campus. You still get to the UCC at the same time if you take a bus or take a 10-minute walk.
What do you recommend as like a kind of a reasonable ballpark area for a price?
Varies anywhere, from $450 to $600. We're finding some of the newer places literally on the campus that bump their prices up to $600. So you really do pay a premium to be right on the edge of campus.
Do you think it's beneficial to be closer to campus, or do you think?
I think part of it, you've got to think about whether you've got a part-time job, whether you like to be downtown a lot or whatever. We suggest to people, because bus passes are free and included in tuition, well, not free, but it's included in tuition, you want to think about where the bus routes are when you're choosing a place. So it just depends. Do you have a part-time job at the mall or downtown or the south end of the city? So you want to think about those things.
Okay. Also, with the lease, do you want to have utilities included? Do you not? Is it?
It's an individual choice. Some students like to have them included because they want to know what the bottom line is and what they absolutely have to meet in the way of costs. Some people like them not included because they figure they can save money, maybe keep the heat down a little bit, try and turn out all the lights all the time, things like that.
Also, landlords. How do you know if your landlord is trustworthy?
Okay.
To say?
We've taken surveys every 6 years of 2,000 to 3,000 students, and probably 90 to 95% of students are happy with their landlords. But we do have some tricks that we suggest to students that help them avoid managing their landlord. And things like, don't take anything verbal, get it all written into the lease, so that if the landlord promises something, it's not like, they can't think, oh, I forgot that or whatever. But the single biggest thing that we suggest to students to avoid a bad landlord is talk to current tenants. Students are really good about telling other students whether the landlord's crappy or not.
Are there any more just pointers that we haven't covered that you think we should know?
Well, like I said, we usually suggest a couple of things to make sure. The roommate agreement is paramount in my mind if you've got multiple people in the house, because you've got to think about, roommates. We deal with people after they're in a place and they're in fights and stuff like that. They get stressed around the exam. So we recommend the roommate agreement so they don't have any money issues. they don't have any fights over cleanliness, who does the toilet, who does the dishes, things like that. And they don't have fights over your boyfriend, your girlfriend's over so much that they should be paying rent. Things like that.
That's very interesting. Sydney and I are actually living together next year, so we'll definitely
We'll take that into
Room-
hash
roommate
those details
agreement for
out.
sure, yes.
All right, well, thank you so much for being with us today. It was great talking to you, and it's been very informative.
Great.
Thank you very much.